All right, CNT 120, where we are looking at our Chapter 4 lab, and we have a number of different pieces we're going to look at, but this podcast we're going to just focus in on the first chunk of the lab where we look at our Ethernet header. That's what we're going to look at in this part right here. So we're going to make sure our lab PC is connected to the internet, our college network, if you will, and I'm also going to make sure my Linux VM is booted up, connected to the college network. They're both set for dynamic IP addressing. And we're going to quick verify their IP and their MAC address. I need both of those pieces of information to make this work. So on my Windows machine, I will do an ipconfig/all. That's going to allow me to check both of those at one time. I'm going to come over here and double check the IP. And I want to make sure I have the MAC address. I need both of those pieces of information. I'm going to highlight the IP first because that's the first thing I need. On my Linux, if you remember, when we do an ifconfig, that actually gives us both pieces of information. Here's the IP, and here also is the MAC address. Okay, so I'm set for the first part. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to start Wireshark on my Windows machine. I'm going to capture a few pings from the Linux machine, and then stop my Wireshark. So I have my Wireshark launched right here. It's just about ready to go. I'm going to, on my Linux machine, I'm actually going to do a quick test ping. I'm going to go from my Linux machine and go ping 172.23, 165, 170. I'm just going to make sure I do have connectivity. There's no issues. Yep, we're good. So now what I'll do is on my Windows machine, start the Wireshark. Let me slide this over here. I'll start the Wireshark, Ethernet 3, that's my NIC, and then I will reissue my ping and let a couple pings go into the Windows machine. That's good. And then I'll stop my Wireshark over here. Excellent. Now, normally we would at this point search for a particular protocol like ICMP or that sort of thing. Well, we're interested in looking at the Ethernet header. So we're going to go a little different this time. We're going to put a different filter in where we look at the Ethernet destination address of the of the Windows machine. I'll get it out yet. We're going to look at the Ethernet destination address or the Ethernet MAC address of the Windows machine. So we're actually going to put a filter in where we see just that, eth.dst ==, and then we will plug the MAC address of our Windows machine in. So it'll look something like this. I'm going to pull my Wireshark up. I'll slide this off to the side, and I'm going to pull my Windows command prompt up here. I'm going to highlight the MAC address here. I will copy that. I'll just hit the Enter key to copy it. So I want the destination MAC address right here. This is my Windows MAC address. So I'm going to come up here and go dst dot, well, I need eth.dst. There we go, eth.dst. And you notice it understands that. It's okay with that. Equal. And then I'm just going to paste in that MAC address of the Windows machine. So we pinged from Linux to Windows. We captured on the Windows. And now we want to just see, okay, I only want to see traffic that had the Windows machine as the destination MAC address of this right here. And now I'm only looking at traffic that had the Windows MAC address as the destination address. So this is all traffic that came to this Windows machine looking at its layer 2 address. Good. So there's the first thing. We just found anything that had the Windows machine as the destination MAC address. Now what we're going to do is we'll take one of these packets. I'll look for one of the ICMPs. Why not? That's one of the pieces of traffic we generated. I'm going to purposely open up this middle window here because this allows me, when I highlight here, this allows me to see my packet contents. And I'm going to look at, here's the ICMP header, IP header, here's the Ethernet header. I'm going to open up the Ethernet header. The source came from VMware for my Linux, and the destination came to this machine, 1860-60A, my Windows Dell computer. There is the actual Ethernet header with the Windows machine as the destination MAC address. Now I tell you here, look for the header fields, destination address, source address, type field. Destination address, source address, type field, there they are. The type indicates that it is an IP packet inside, IP4 packet inside, and indeed it is. There is my Ethernet header fields. So real quickly, we generated traffic from Linux, we captured on Windows, and we looked specifically at the layer 2 header, my Ethernet header. What we're going to do now is we're going to save those packets for submission in D2L. So I will do a file export specified packets, and I'm going to point it to my desktop so I can find it, and I'll give it a name of Chapter 4 Ethernet Capture, something like that. Chapter 4 Ethernet capture. And I'll leave the file extension that, and I will save that. And now I have that saved for submission D2L of proof of looking at my Ethernet header. That's the first part of my lab. I'll come back in the next podcast and look at the next part.